Yes, 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 yes. I told y'all it was gonna happen. I said it. No one wanted to believe me. Everyone was being negative in the comments saying there's no way there's gonna be positive news anytime soon for this system. But guess what? We have amazing news for the Nintendo Switch 2. We have multiple things that happened today that is great news, and it is super exciting because I feel like the last few days there's just been nothing but negative news, something bad happening, delays, cancellations, price increases, all of that. And right now finally feels like we're at the right step to getting constant good news right now. So without further ado, before we start this video, please make sure you're subscribed to the channel, as we have been uploading every single day regarding the Nintendo Switch 2. Sometimes we're doing news videos, sometimes speculation. Like we just did a video where I talked about every confirmed Nintendo Switch 2 game, which if you guys haven't checked that out, check it out. Like the video, all that good stuff. Greatly appreciate it, as we're getting close to 16,000 subscribers. Y'all have been blowing up the channel recently, and I greatly appreciate that. Let's get started with this video. All right, the first one that was one that I wasn't really expecting, but I'm glad to see this being said. Kind of Funny Games was at the Nintendo Switch 2 experience, and they had the opportunity to ask some questions to Nintendo reps. And one of the questions that was asked is, now that GameCube Classics is coming to the Switch 2, what does this mean for something like Wind Waker HD? It's safe to say that that's probably never happening now that we have GameCube on the way to the Nintendo Switch 2. And Nintendo rep actually responded to this question. Now I'm going to quote what Kinda Funny said about this story. I did ask if having the Wind Waker on NSO precludes it from the Switch 2 getting the actual Wii U port at some point, and he was very quick to say no. All options are on the table. Obviously, this doesn't confirm anything, but I think it's interesting that Nintendo quickly said no, and is very exciting. Now, I think some people might not care about Wind Waker HD coming to the Switch 2 with the fact that we have Wind Waker now through the GameCube, but to me, I think both versions of the game are phenomenal. Now, I haven't seen the GameCube. I've seen how it looks, and I think it looks incredible. I think the Wii U version is incredible also. I think that these two versions of the games are completely different in terms of a look perspective. I think both versions look really, really good, and I want the option to be able to play both, if I'm being honest, because I feel like both of them, two different things. Yes, it's the same game, but in terms of graphics, the shades, all that, the lighting, it's all different on each version. And I think each version is a unique take on Wind Waker. So I think it'd be really cool to still have this version out there and not it be solely exclusive to the Wii U. But if Nintendo doesn't do that, that's also understandable. But I know Nintendo loves any opportunity possible to get $60 re-releases, and that's just the perfect one to have. Especially with the, we don't know where Twilight Princess is. They haven't confirmed that Twilight Princess is going to be on GameCube Classics, from my understanding, but it would make sense that it goes there. But, you know, if it isn't, then that's because maybe they're re-releasing Twilight Princess HD. And I guess, you know, maybe they would do a double pack of Twilight Princess HD and Wind Waker HD, $60. I don't know. I would really like to see that, because I still want the Wind Waker HD to be on here at some point, but that could be a few years from now. Because I think Nintendo is really going to be focusing on original titles for the time being until, you know, we get to a point where they need to start re-releasing things. And they're still supporting the Switch 1. I think it's important to realize that the Switch 1 doesn't have GameCube. So if they bring back Wind Waker, you know, maybe they're going to make it Switch 1 too. That way the Switch 1 players who are complaining about, you know, GameCube Classics not being a part of their subscription, they can get something like the Wind Waker HD, a full-on remastered game. I don't know, I could see the sides of it. And I think it also opens the door to like Prime 2 and 3. People were wondering what's going to happen with that. Especially, I think, with Prime 3, if I recall, that is a Wii game. So I don't know how they're going to re-release that through Nintendo Switch Online. So I think this still opens the door to those two games being remastered at some point. But once again, this is one of those things that I'm not really sure when it will happen. Might take a few years, but it could happen if they're going to focus on the Switch 1 support, because Nintendo has confirmed that that is something they want to do in case of people complaining about the price of the Switch 2. They realize it's expensive and not everybody's going to be able to get it at first, which is why they're supporting the Switch 1. So I think this makes sense, and I feel like Nintendo's marketing move for Switch 1 is mainly going to be remasters at some point, because we do know that Yoshi's Woolly World is coming to the system at some point because Nintendo accidentally confirmed it. And there's still some original things such as Tomodachi Life and Rhythm Heaven coming to the system next year. But in terms of later this year for Switch 1, we don't know what's happening. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a bunch of remasters for Switch 1 coming this year. And maybe all of the titles that we just talked about are titles to expect for that. Let's quickly get over this one, because this is one people are talking about, and I can't see this being true. There has to be some sort of typo here, something wrong, because this literally does not make sense. But The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild Nintendo Switch 2 Edition is being reported to not have the expansion pack on it. I really don't see how this is true. This has to be some sort of typo. There's no way they're going to release this game without the DLC. It's coming from Nintendo Store's customer service for the My Nintendo stuff, and I feel like, you know, that's a great place to ask all these questions, but I feel like at times like this, they're not gonna actually know the answer to this, and I just cannot see this being the case. There's no way they're going to release this game without DLC, because its DLC expansion pack, if I recall correctly, has a big story expansion. There's just no way. I refuse to believe it. I think this is some sort of mistake, and it's coming from the customer service stuff, because I feel like that could also be a chance that this is not true. So I think everyone just needs to calm it down for now. This is probably something that we'll later see that, oh, that wasn't true. Okay, let's get into some news that you guys probably already know, and the only reason why I didn't cover it is because I didn't have an opportunity to really cover it. I got home like 3 hours later after this happened. But I do want to report it in case you guys don't know. The Tariffs are on a 90-day delay when it comes to over here. We're gonna still see stuff happen eventually is what it sounds like, but there's a pause on it. If they're in China, well, unfortunately, China is screwed in this case, but everywhere else, there is a pause when it comes to stuff over here in America. So the Switch 2 pre-orders should be going out pretty soon. We're probably gonna get some news regarding the pre-orders in the next few days, and we don't have to really worry about a price increase anytime soon. But like I said many times before in videos, I don't think a price increase was something we were gonna have to worry about in general. I think a price increase, if it were to happen, is gonna happen during the holiday season. And there's a good chance right now that there might not be a price increase. So the good news is you're gonna be able to pre-order this system soon, and it sounds like from what we're hearing, Nintendo does have a really good stock with the Switch 2 already here in America, and it sounds like now they're gonna try to get more here before the launch. So hopefully pre-orders are easy. If not, hopefully the system is well stocked on launch day where anybody could come pick it up without a pre-order. Either way, I see this as really good news for us. However, I guess we need to see what happens 90 days from now on what the future of this could be. Which, because of all of this stuff, the Switch 2 has been indefinitely delayed for China. I don't know what this means. I don't know how it's going to get fixed, but hopefully that soon happens, because obviously the Switch 2, the China is a big market for the Switch 2, so I hope it can come to China very soon. It sucks that it's not going to be in China day one with all the other countries, which is just so unfortunate, but hopefully China does not have to wait that long. This next one, I'm kind of confused, and I hope you guys can correct me in the comments below about this, because I don't really understand why people are upset about this, because to me, it makes sense, and I'm sure in the future as the Switch 2 comes out, Nintendo can update certain games to work on this, but it's being reported that the brand new GameCube controller that is coming out for Nintendo Switch Online is only going to work for the GameCube Classics app. To me, this makes sense because this is a controller that doesn't have all the updated mechanics that something like the Joy-Con or Pro Controller has. A lot of these games use things like HD Rumble, the motion controls, all of this. I think the GameCube controller might have some missing buttons that a Pro controller, Joy-Con, all that has, other than, you know, like the C button. I know they added the brand new C button on the GameCube controller. I think in general, it makes sense that this controller was not going to work for other games. And a lot of people are upset about this, and I'm trying to understand why, but I feel like this is something that will be fixed later on. I don't know if people are like talking about, you know, like Pikmin 1 and 2 and, you know, like Mario Sunshine through the 3D All-Stars collection. Maybe they want support for those games, kind of how like the GameCube controller adapter works on the Switch 1 for those games. I don't really understand, but I think it's going to be fixed. And I mean, I know, for example, the NES controller, the Super Nintendo controller, they actually work, but it's hard to play games with that because it doesn't have all the buttons. So this might just be poor wording from Nintendo's part. It might already be available to where you can use this controller on all games. They might just be saying it might not work as well. I don't know. I think people might be freaking out over this. If you're curious where the story came from my understanding, it started from Nintendo's UK video about the controller and the fine print within it. I think, again, this is something, let's just wait and see what happens. I'm sure it will be updated to work the way people are wanting it to work very soon, considering that the other controllers do that. Let's just wait and see. I think poor wording is going around right now. Which, reading the replies, come to find out the UK, when the Super Nintendo controller came out, they did a very similar wording thing, and that obviously ended up not being true. So this is further proof to just calm down. Wait till it comes out. If it's not the way people are wanting it, I'm sure it will be updated it to the way that people are wanting it, which, again, I'm still confused why people want this. Maybe I'm stupid. Please correct me in the comments and help me understand why people are upset about this, because to me, it would seem like it wouldn't work as well anyways. But like I said, please correct me in the comments on that. And for our final story, we have another YouTuber deciding to camp out, not at the New York City store of Nintendo, but at the upcoming San Francisco store. This store doesn't even open up until May 15th, but Super Cafe intends on being at the grand opening of the San Francisco store, be first in line for that, on top of being first in line for the Switch 2 at the San Francisco store. He's already flew in over there. He's talked about he has no plans on where he's staying, all that. I watched part of the video. You guys should definitely check it out. From my understanding, starting when this video comes out, he will be vlogging and uploading every single day of the journey of what waiting in line in San Francisco is going to be like. I'm very curious to see how this will work in his favor, considering that the store is not open yet. And I believe from what I saw from the footage, the store is kind of like in like a public mall type of area. So I think it's going to be difficult for him to camp out for it, but I'm sure he'll figure it out. It's going to be interesting to see. I'm sure once the store opens up, it will be easy to go ahead and camp out for the Switch 2. But in terms of the San Francisco grand opening, that is going to be very interesting to see how he pulls that off. It's cool to see Chicken Dog and Super Cafe do this journey, because Chicken Dog's doing the New York store and we have Super Cafe doing the San Francisco store. So we're going to see two styles of this out there. It's cool to see this happening, and I wish them the best of luck on this. Guys, that is all the news I have for you today. I thought this was a really good step in the direction of positivity when it comes to the Switch 2. I'm sure something is going to happen in a few days that will be like, oh, this sucks. But then more positivity will come out of the Switch 2. Exciting times. I'm very pumped for this system. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you have not yet. / that subscribe button. We're going to be doing videos every day. It's not always going to be news videos. I know some people are asking about the game hunting videos. Those are coming back pretty soon. I have 6 of those that have not come out yet, so it's going to be very fun to get those out. But make sure to check out our Twitter, Discord, Instagram, all that stuff in the description below. Become a Monado Marine, $5 a month, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.